And we're back with some more Factorio Space Age, and we are on our way to Fulgora with our little badly aligned ship, where two engines go, but the whole thing. Why is it every time we go somewhere, someone decides to attack this stuff? You know what? Doesn't make a difference. We have 50 construction bots and about 100 repair packs in this. No problems. Nothing's getting through this that we have to worry about. Anyway, I'm more concerned about going here in terms of what our solar power is going to look like. Due to the comments, I now know you click on this to show what your electrical consumption is, and it actually tells you, oh, we might actually be pushing it in some ways. Well, at least we got a few accumulators to keep everything going. Yeah, it's fine, probably, right? I never did feel sorry for the meteors. This old ship is still doing its job, so I haven't decided to upgrade it yet, because that would take time and effort. Time and effort I would prefer to put into cracking open a new planet and getting access to some new stuff. Once we gain access to this stuff, I think we're heading back to Volcanus, and we're going to do a proper base. This so far has just been unlocking stuff, seeing what all of these things have to offer in terms of flavor. The plan here is going to be very similar to what we did on Volcanus. Settle down, see what we can do without actually requesting anything. Just to figure out how the devs wanted us to do it. And once we've kind of figured that out, then we'll see about dropping down supplies and maybe scaling up. Welcome to Fulgora. Solar power here is only 20% inside the atmosphere, which means it's pretty terrible. For you, lightning attractor protects a small area from lightning. I've heard of this. Okay, protects a small area from lightning strikes, and you can use it to charge accumulators. That's pretty handy. It generates a lot of energy in a very small amount of time. Okay, right. What happens if we leave this area is the question. So if we walk outside of this, we become a lightning rod. Okay, that's not great. We do have armor though, so we should be fine. We just need to find some resources to harvest, and that looks like scrap over there. Let's see what happens if we run over here. Do we get struck? What are you? Missed me? A Fulgoran vault ruin. This takes a little time. Whoa! We got the whole thing? So we got gears, steel plates, scrap, stone, copper wire, and... okay, more scrap. And that's how we gain more scrap. According to this, we have now unlocked Recycler. The Recycler reverses most processes except smelting and chemistry, returning 25% of the ingredients on average. Fluid ingredients are not regained. Okay, other items are usually returned 25% of the time, losing 75% or turned to spoilage if they were biological. Right, so we can basically reverse stuff back into its component parts. And we can also take one scrap, and it will output 20% iron gear wheel, 7% solid... Okay, so basically we take scrap and turn it into everything else. So we need to pump lots of scrap into recyclers to get all the resources we need. And the first thing we want to do is Holmium processing? Let's just convert Holmium ore into Holmium plate. First thing we have to do is craft Holmium ores. Okay. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but someone will correct me somewhere. Do that, we need a scrap recycler. Right. Can we do this stuff manually? Give me a recycler. No, we have none of that stuff on us. Oh, I think we just got struck by lightning. Our shield tanked it. Scrap recycling? Or we just give me lots of scrap recycling. How's that? Or just recycled a lot. At some point we're going to get that ore, right? It seems to be giving us a little bit of a... There we go. Perfect. Now you. So using a foundry or assembly machines, we can produce the necessary bits and bobs. How do we produce accumulators, right? We're gonna need accumulators, which means we've actually got batteries. We're gonna need some iron plate though. Can't get iron plate. How do we get iron plate here then? There seems to be no way to turn scrap into iron plate. We might want to recycle something. But we can't recycle something unless we get our hands on blue chips and... Oh. Right, okay. I get it. We're going to need to get a bunch more scrap. But I'm not going to mine it. I want to find one of those big nodes if at all possible. Fulgora rune, thank you. We'll just start hoovering up all of this little stuff. Oh, this is a dead planet. Their race used to live here, and now we're just picking over their carcass to make new factories. Excellent. Oh, wait a minute. This is the leftovers from a previous engineer. He basically terraformed an entire planet and then collapsed its entire ecosystem, and the whole planet is now just a wreck. Well, either that or he left. Excellent. At least we know what we're planning to do anyway. After going around and hoovering up everything we can, except for this, we've had another Fulgora and a lightning attractor. Can we manufacture those, actually? Yes, we can. Lightning rod. Okay. Okay, we'll worry about that later. For now, we're going to want all of that processed. We're going to turn all of that scrap into, well, other stuff we can use, including... Well, we've got a bunch of batteries out of it, which means we're halfway to accumulators. Getting our hands on the recycler might take a minute. We're just going to need some more concrete and blue chips. But once you've got concrete and blue chips, we can get the recycler going. Actually keeping it up long enough for us to... Ooh, copper plate? No, damn it. I think the recycler can probably turn the copper cable back into copper plate. You know what? No, I should do some more exploring first. I'll do a little bit more exploring around and see what other resource types there are. So, after a bunch of exploring, I think I figured a few things out. One, you seem to only be able to build on these areas, these platforms. This down here, it seems you can't even landfill it. I made a couple of landfill out of dirt, and it says here, foundations needed to fill oil ocean. So you need foundations for that, and deep oil ocean is even harder. Also, that means it's oil. This whole thing is oil. I'm not sure what type it is yet, but probably heavy if I had to guess. Could be light, I suppose. No, it's probably heavy. Heavy oil, gotta be. As well as that, there are actually lots of these Fulgora and lightning attractors around the place. Probably so you can build bases in this area. But more importantly, under the tech, it wants you to produce some of this Holmium, whatever, plate. Thing is, you need Holmium solution. Holmium solution requires water. Water, well, the only way to get that, it seems, is ice. As in, every time you do this recycling thing, you have a 5% chance of getting ice. So we want to take that ice and process it into water. That will require us to stick it into a chemical plant. A chemical plant will require us to get our hands on some electronic circuits and pipes. Pipes will require us to get our hands on iron plate. So, we need to find a way to revert some of these iron gears or iron sticks back into iron plate so we can turn that iron plate into the chemical plant we can use to make... Yeah, recyclers. We need to build a recycler, basically. Give us one of these right now. And then... You know what, let's just stick this in here. And that is not powered at all. It's inside the radius of this thing. Still nothing? Okay, in that case, we are going to have to build ourselves one of these lightning rods. Alright, lightning rod. And get rid of this one. Finally, we got some electricity. You. I want you to process some of these iron gears back into something. There we go. That gives us some iron plate. You know what? Have a few more iron gears while you're at it. What we really need, though, is to get our hands on some accumulators. That's it. Once we get some accumulators, we can store electricity, and these things can run a little bit more consistently. Okay. Damn it. Give me more electricity. All right. Now we've got some power coming in. Excellent. And you can process some stuff. What happens if you can process steel? I thought smelted stuff couldn't be scrapped. What are you doing? Oh, never mind. Smelted stuff can't be scrapped. So you can't put in iron plate, and you can't put in steel plate. You can put in... What the hell? Okay, that works just fine. Then we'll try some iron gears, or iron rods. Okay. Nice. I think what we really need to do, though, is focus on getting ourselves as much power as possible. It seems power sort of ebbs and flows. We're going to need some mines as well. I might just drop down some foundries because I'm lazy, and yeah, we know we can get mining drills, but I prefer just to start with big mining drills because they're just awesome. So they are going to land God knows where. Where did we actually land? I think we landed over here somewhere. I have to go back and grab them. Give me a minute. Yeah, a little bit of automated processing later. It turns out the only thing that can process scrap is the recycler. Makes sense. And it takes the scrap and just spits out the front. So we just stick a chest in front of it and done. I need to do something about that stone, though. I wonder if brick is entirely necessary. No, I'm not going to worry about it. What we're going to do is get around to making a chemical plant so that we can process... Yes, we got to process the ice into water. And maybe we should be recycling a few other things while we're at it. Well, very simple plan first. We're going to stick down one of these big mining drills we dropped. We could have just used a regular mining drill, but yeah, I was lazy. And these things are just so convenient. So this thing here pumps out the scrap. The scrap gets fed into the recycler, and the recycler spits out the resources at the front. For now, we're just dumping it into chests. You can also extend this on and keep processing it. This we're just using for, well, converting one resource into another. We can turn, basically, iron gears and iron sticks can get turned into iron plate, and copper cable we can turn into copper plate. That's the only way to get those. What happens if we recycle no, we're not recycling concrete. All right, now we can finally get around to doing what we started with, which was chemical plant and making some water to make Holmium or Holmium, whatever. We'll figure it out. And this is the rather bare-bones setup, just to start, so we can figure out what's going on. This takes ice. Actually, we're going to need a chest for you. And maybe a couple of inserters would not go astray. So this takes the ice and converts it into water. That water gets fed into this machine here, along with stone and Holmium. Holmium ore? So the Holmium ore, the stone, and the water all get turned into this Holmium solution. And then it gets fed into the foundry, though we don't need to use the foundry to make this. We could also use just a regular assembly machines. And that gets turned into Holmium plate. And that should be all we need to do. See, you can go like that, and you can go like that. Wow, you're slow. Okay, that is super duper slow. We're gonna need a bunch of that, aren't we? On the right side, this gets a 50... Whoa. How have you already got 7? You produce how much at a time? Oh, you produce 10 at a time. Well, you produce 100 of the solution at a time. That turns into 5 plate. Right. And because of the 50% bonus in here, it doubles the output on... Yeah, got it. All right, then. Why is this not... Oh, it is researched. Excellent. So, we've got that done. Now it's time to do this. Craft 50 of this plate, and we already have a bunch of it done. Yeah, no problems. We just need a bunch more of this, whatever you may call it. Yep, the ore. All right, then. That is 50 plate produced, which means we gain access to the electromagnetic plant. Does it give us any new recipes? Okay, supercapacitors, superconductors, and electrolyte. Ah, interesting. So, my brain hurts already, but I think I know kind of where we're going, sort of. So this is electromagnetic science packs. Now, I've gathered through here to see what materials it requires. And the main things I'm looking at here are this Holmium plate. This seems to be the bottleneck. Could be wrong, but so far this seems to be the one that's going to be the hardest to obtain. We need 2 of these. Then we're also going to need a third one in here, so that's 3 Holmium plate. And then we're going to need some electrolyte. Electrolyte actually requires Holmium solution, which is the same ore that makes the Holmium plate. Then we've got electrolyte down here and Holmium solution. So all up, we're going to need, how much is it? I think, yep, I worked at a 2.8 ore of that Holmium ore per science. So if we want to use 2.8 Holmium ore, what we're going to need to do is use this scrap here. Mine all of this scrap, put it into a recycler, and this scrap has a percentage chance of churning out what we're looking for. 1% is Holmium ore, so we have to multiply our requirements by 100. So if we want to make 100 of this electromagnetic science, we're going to need to mine about 20,800 scrap per minute. That's a lot of scrap. I think first up, though, power. Right, what we need is a lot, and I mean a lot of these accumulators. We basically, even this small little setup is eating through all of our power. This is sort of like a reverse solar. They've basically taken solar and added extra steps. Instead of generating power during the day, you generate power at night where the lightning starts striking. And then what you have to do is capture that lightning and chuck it into accumulators. So you need less solar panels, which is the lightning conductors, and you need more accumulators. So we need to make lots and lots of accumulators. I think what I want to do first is get this island and just cover it. We'll cover this in accumulators and power, and once that's done, we're kind of set up to start. Oh, we're going to need more scrap. I think there's a big stack. There's 37 there. There's 37 million right there. We might need some sort of trade. 40 million there. 38 million there. There's lots of scrap lying about the place. Just not all on this big island. And I think this big island would be better for us because it could generate us more power. And it gives us more space to build on. What I've decided on a pattern is basically diagonals. You'll see here there's a little lightning thingy. What's it? Actually, what happens if we remove this one? You. Yeah, the protection goes away. I don't think we need them quite so stacked, but what I'm basically doing is diagonally. There we go. We put a whole bunch of power conductors. And then we leave a gap, and then the next diagonal, and then the next diagonal we fill in. Another option might be, actually, let me try that real quick. What if we do it horizontally? Oh, over here, we need brick. Lots and lots of brick. The reason we need brick is that allows us to make these thingies, the lightning rods. Give us like 30 of those. Then we're going to need a lot of accumulators, which requires more iron plate and batteries. We're kind of chewing through the batteries pretty quick. We need more of that iron plate. For iron plate, we just basically scrap a bunch of iron bars and gears. We chuck them in here. No, I'll keep some of those, thank you very much. But the iron bars and the gears go in there, and that spits us out the iron plate. And allows us to make more accumulators, because battery-wise, you actually get batteries from the scrap we're processing. Yeah, that'll be grand. Now, let me play around with a more efficient lightning setup. Right now, though, we're using substations. The reason being, we can make substations for free out of the scrap we're getting. So since we can make those, why bother not making them? It seems like just a great idea. It's advanced circuits, copper wire, and steel, and all of those we get from recycling scrap. This scrap recycling is kind of amazing. The thing is, it's only about 65% of the time you get something, the other 35, not quite that number, but basically there's times where you don't get anything out of this. The rest of the time, you're getting gears, which you can turn into iron plates, solid fuel, which you can use to run furnaces, concrete, I haven't found a use for yet, ice, which you can turn into water, steel plate, which, well, that's just steel, batteries. Yeah, batteries are just batteries. Stone, we're going to turn into brick for now, but I think that's going to be a waste product. Advanced circuits might be an idea to make plastic out of. We can scrap them for plastic. As them, chuck them into the recycler, and for every 4 we stick in, we'll get out 2 plastic. And then there's processing units, low density structure, and Holmium ore. Low density structure, we might recycle some of that for plastic as well. But even like if you just process loads of this, you're going to get, like if you just throw down lots of mines, like you're going to get lots of processing units, lots of advanced circuits. You will have to scrap and recycle a bunch of stuff to destroy it. But I'm thinking, yes, this has some interesting potential here. But first, give me a minute to lay out a lightning area for collection. This planet is so weird. I've put down a giant grid just to harvest electricity. We have a lot. We're now cranking out an assembly machine Mark III, because you can just build them with the stuff that these recyclers spit out. You've got your red, you've got your blue chips. You don't get green, but it doesn't really seem to make too much of a difference, so long as you've got some iron plate. You can always make. Also, you could scrap some things, like we could scrap our blue chips that we've got coming in to turn them into green circuits. But yeah, we're not doing that just yet. These iron sticks, it seems, I'm not getting from recycling. Those are being gotten from ruins. Like if you hover over ruins here, you can see they give you copper wire and iron bars, gears, all that sort of stuff. But the iron bars are weird. You don't get them from any other sort of recycling. You only get them out of the ruins that are just lying around the place. Anyway, we have gotten ourselves a whole bunch of accumulators. This is our power bank over here. Basically, these batteries last us during the day. And during the night, they get charged up by all the lightning strikes. At the same time, we have put down, one second, a nice, all that blue, there. That blue area is areas that are protected from lightning strikes, meaning we can build there and nothing bad will happen to it. We did send down some mines and some furnaces just to simplify things. In other words, we'd have to rip them out later anyway. It does mean we get a bit of a productivity bonus on these things, but yeah, I'm not going to kill myself here. We're just going to figure out how to get this working, and it's not easy. That's the first thing I've learned. All right, but first up, we need to make ourselves one of these electromagnetic plants. Ew. Okay, and then, yeah, we'll just fill it up. The Holmium plate, Oh, wait, you're only allowed to make one. Just make one for now. Done. Chuck you down there. So, the holmium plate, very easy. All it requires is stone, holmium ore, and water. You throw the holmium solution in here, and that just spits out the holmium plate. Done. Now, to make water, we just need ice. It all comes from the recycling. The recycling just gives us a smattering of everything. Then we need refined concrete as well as one of the other ingredients. This is actually pretty handy to make. You just need steel, iron sticks, concrete, and water. Water comes from ice. Concrete we just get from the scrap. Iron sticks we just find lying around the place. We've loads of those. And steel plate, that also comes from the scrap recycling. So most of the resources, it seems, are pretty handy to get your hands on. Now do you have a productivity bar? You do. So if we get you to churn out a couple of these electromagnetic plants. Okay, you're going to need a bunch more refined concrete. In fact, I think we have some here on hand. There you go. That means we should now get 3, right? Perfect. Thank you. Now, time to do some more refinement. One other thing. This holmium ore. This stuff here. This is actually pretty rare. It's only a 1% drop when you're recycling the scrap. However, you can find a bunch of it inside fulgurite rocks. So this here is worth 6 of it. Which means you would have to process 600 scrap to get the same amount. This is so much faster. It helps you bootstrap your base. Because this is going to be the main bottleneck on getting down the early electromagnetic production machines, as in these thingies. Like, they require a lot of that fulgurite junk, so being able to just harvest a few of these and actually chuck it into a machine to make more, a lot handier. Okay. Full disclosure, my brain is melted. Trying to figure this out we gotta figure out how to turn scrap recycling into electromagnetic science packs. That's just the goal. At one point, I was going to try and set up for some production here for transport belts or stuff like that. No, we're just going to get the science done. Once we get the science done, we can work on other stuff. But I just need to get this science sorted before my brain melts further out my ears. All right, these are the 4 items we need to make. They break down into sub-items. In fact, some of those items, like this one here, breaks down into sub-items. And we need to produce them all from these resources that get dropped from scrap. That's it. That's the only resource on this planet is scrap and electricity. And we got to somehow turn this into this. So, 1 second. So, this here is all of the outputs from scrap recycling. And handily enough, there's even this per second how much you're going to get. So, for example, you get 0.5 gear wheels per second from this, but only 0.025 holmium ore per second. This is what we need to produce, this science pack over here. This here is the raw ingredients that go into this science pack. So, for example, to make 1 science pack, that's actually per 1, I should have mentioned that, you need 2.8 of this holmium ore. You need 0.6 stone, 0.55 ice, 6 battery. There's a weird thing going on here. Don't worry about it too much, but it's just a case of we're trying to figure out which one of these we want to keep and which one of these we want to trash. And the first 4 are really easy because all 4 of them are just raw resources that are given to us every time we process the scrap. We can't really make more of it. Well, okay, we could actually make more battery, but we shouldn't need to, hopefully. Anyway, so for every science, we're going to need 6 batteries, but that's okay because we need 2.8 holmium ore. So we'll have to process this, say, 280 scrap to get 2.8 holmium ore on average. We get, though, 4 batteries for every 100 scrap we process, so we'll actually have 8-point-something batteries coming in. We're actually going to have more batteries than we need because holmium ore will probably be the bottleneck. 0.6 stone, no problem. We get in 4% stone as opposed to 1% holmium ore. So if anything comes in at less requirements than the holmium ore, it's already covered. Same with the ice. We need very little of that. We actually need the ice to make water. That combines with the holmium ore to make a solution and electrolytes. And we're also going to need to make light oil. We're going to have to pump heavy oil out of the ocean and crack it to make light oil. But all in all, it's still going to take like a minuscule amount of ice. 1 piece of ice makes 20 water or something like that. So yeah, we're covered. We have all of that done. The problem happens when we get to green circuits, plastic, copper plate, and iron plate. We don't get any of these as a raw output from all of the scrap recycling. So one of the things we could do, we could take, say, red circuits. You see, red circuits don't have a use in making the science, and they're constructed from 2 green, 2 plastic, and 4 copper cable. So if we put that into a recycler, and once we chuck it in, it'll spit out 0.5 green, 0.5 plastic, and 1 copper cable. for every 4 we get in, or every 4 red chips we feed into the recycler, we'll get back out 2 green chips, 2 plastic, and 4 copper cable. So, considering it takes 2.8 holmium ore, and that's like basically 280 scrap to make that, if we process 280 scrap and we take all of the advanced red circuits we get and scrap them up, each one will give us 0.5 green. We get, 1.5 green chips per 100 scrap and 4.2 per 280 scrap. And we're just working off the holmium ore because that seems to be the one that's most rare. Now, this is not, I promise this isn't really over by a long shot, but let's just say that's what we're doing for now, and we'll put you all to one side and come back to the mess that's going to cause us later. But that gives us the 4 green chips we need to make 1 science. Then we need 2 plastic per science. However, that red that we're scrapping up, that has 2 plastic in it, so that actually gives us the exact same numbers because it is basically the exact same amount of plastic as green chips. So we get 4.2 plastic per 280 scrap done, which means plastic is covered. Copper plate, a little bit trickier. That actually requires us to take copper cable. The only way we can make it, well, there's actually 2 ways. We could scrap some low density structure, but we're not going to do that for reasons I'll explain later. But we take copper cable. It takes 2 copper cable to make 1 copper, or it takes 1 copper plate to make 2 copper cable. We need to reverse that and then multiply it by 4. So it actually takes us 8 copper cable fed into a recycler will give us 1 copper plate. Considering we get 3 copper cable every time you process 100 scrap, we're going to process 280 to get the necessary amount of ore. That gives us 8.4 copper cable from 280 scrap. We chuck 8 of that into a recycler and boom, we get spit out 1 copper plate, which means that's covered as well. That means we can turn the copper cable green as well because we will be using that, and we're going to turn the advanced circuits green because we will be using them. We're trying to keep track of what we're actually using and what we have no use for. Oh, and I almost forgot. We get 2.8 copper cable from recycling the red circuits. The red circuits, when you break them down, give you copper cable as well. So we actually end up getting 11.2 copper cable every time we process 280 scrap. Again, put a pin in that one because it gets more complicated later. We're just going through the simplistic stuff. Before, I did say my brain melted a bit. Anyway, last up is the iron plate per science. This is easy. We just... we take the iron gear wheels. We get loads of them. Like, iron plate is not going to be an issue. Churning out 2 iron plate, easy peasy, considering the amount of iron gear wheels we're getting in. You will notice, though, that solid fuel, concrete, steel plate, processing units, and low-density structure, none of these are touched. Now, one of the reasons is processing units, low-density structure, they're both involved in creating rocket parts. Also, solid fuel, if you combine that with light oil, which we can get by just, we've got literally seas of heavy oil we can draw upon. So we should be able to make rocket fuel quite easy as well with that solid fuel. So those 3 there should allow us to launch rockets consistently. Though, we will have more solid fuel than we need, I think, and we might have more processing units than we need. We'll come back to those. But the concrete and steel plate, they're effectively waste products in this build. And we'll have to dispose of them. In fact, we're going to have too much iron gear wheels, which means we're going to need to dispose of them as well. We need to process, remember, enough scrap to get that ore, and if any of this stuff starts backing up on the line, then we're not going to get the ore and the whole thing will grind to a halt. So this is a whole thing of destroying stuff. And you can't just chuck it into lava like you can in Volcanus. You can't burn all of this stuff. So we're going to have to feed it back into recyclers to destroy it. Every time you feed something into a recycler, a quarter of it is, or 3/4 of it is lost. So we need to process stuff more. But one complication to all of this. This here is the electromagnetic science pack, and this here is one of the components, electrolyte. It's actually involved in supercapacitor parts as well. So, this electrolyte is made from holmium solution, and the holmium solution is made from the holmium ore. All good so far. The thing is, the holmium solution is made in the electromagnetic plant, and it has a 50% productivity bonus. We haven't been factoring any of that in. So, we actually need less ore than it would look like because of the 50% bonus we get on that, which just seems like a good thing. But then you have to remember, we're basing this entire thing on processing 280 scrap, but now we have to process 50% less of that. With 50% less of that, we get 50% less copper cable. We get 50% less red circuits, which throws all the math right out the window. And it's not like we can get extra green chips from processing the red. Like, there's no productivity bonuses in scrapping. You can't get those. You can with science research, but you know what? That doesn't matter. which means this whole thing is going to be messy whatever way we do it. So yes, that's why it's melting my brain, because I'm trying to figure out how much of a productivity bonus that gives. Oh, and also, we need to make this Holmium plate. And we're making that in a foundry, which also gets a 50% productivity bonus, which is, yes, my own fault. I should have just stuck with regular ones, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll just probably have to do one other thing. You see, processing units here, they're like 2% of the output, and they can be very useful to us. Because processing units are made out of 20 electronic circuits and 2 advanced circuits. So what we can do is for every processing unit we come in, we can actually scrap about half of them. And that will give us enormous amounts of electronic circuits. That takes care of electronic circuits problems. It also gives us a bunch of extra advanced circuits, which we can break down for plastic. And we can break down some of the electronic circuits, which have copper cable in them. So we'll keep the plan as normal, but what we're going to do is about 50% of the blue chips will be broken down. Or once the blue chips hit a certain buffer or something like that, we'll start breaking down the electronic circuits and the advanced circuits from the blues to make more of the stuff we need, which will probably be, well, green circuits and a little bit of copper cable. Okay, that took a while. That took a while to figure out in my brain. This is not okay, it's a fun planet, but it's a weird planet. It's basically reverse solar power on a planet that you can't terraform. Like, I was thinking, okay, what happens when we want to set up, say, a mine on another island over here? That sounds good, right? We can set up a mine over here. Cool. How do you run power to it? Can't. You see, there's no way to get power there because no power things can reach, which means every single one of these islands will have to have a self-contained power production. Except for maybe this one. We might be able to get a power cable across there. But all of these scrap islands over here, they'll have to have their own power collection grid. Like this thing over here, 37 million, we'll have to just power that off what's on it until we get our hands on, where is it? Foundation. It says foundation is required. The foundation tech is only available after you get your cryogenic science, which is available on the Aquilo planet, which is one of the really hard ones. We're probably not going to be going there for a while, which means it's going to be a while before we get foundations, which means we just have to, live with not being able to connect these islands up. So far, this is my idea. It's actually very straightforward. We're going to pump the scrap in here. It'll go to the left and right of these things, and the recyclers will then process the scrap and just output it onto this transport belt. Now, from what I understand, these mines over here can stack resources up, so you'll notice there's like extra resources on each of those tiles. It's stacked up to 3 or 4 high, I believe. Yeah, it's 4 resources high. And since it's 4 resources high, we should be able to run this all on one belt, assuming these also stack as well. And I'm pretty sure they do. Like, if I take away the chest there, which I didn't have chests here at the start, they seem to stack up the resources up to 4 high on the ground. We should be able to stack multiple layers of junk on top of this. Then we're going to want to start splitting things off. You see, we're going to have all of those items coming down here that we do and don't want. So, give me 1 second here. Let me put in just one split here to get rid of the stuff we basically have almost no use for. So, yeah, this planet is weird. We're going to filter out all of the solid fuel, the concrete, the steel, the low-density structure, and the blue chips. All of those are going to get filtered off because we have no use for those. Well, the blue chips we're kind of going to use, which is why I left those till the end. We're probably going to be scrapping some of those. However, over here we have gears. Like, all of the gears are going to get picked up and chucked into these recyclers. Some gears might leak through, though. I'm not sure about that. We might want to... Actually, why don't we just really make sure no gears leak through? This is entirely sloppy. We should probably just put down its own fast splitter line, but that feels somehow sillier and also functional. We'll find out, I suppose, when we turn this on. Then that will output iron plate onto this side, and we'll merge all of them up on over here. Hopefully it works somehow. One of the next things I want to set up is, because it's going to be a pain in the butt, well, hopefully not too much of a pain in the butt, water, which will then, ice comes down here, it gets put into this chest. We're going to have an overflow for this when it backs up too much and dispose of the ice and destroy it. But that gives us ice, which we then dump into this water tank. And then that gets sent off down here, and there's actually a little pool of oil there, well, a little pool of infinite oil, that we can just dump an offshore pump into. I know it looks like a puddle, but hey, game mechanics are game mechanics. It pumps it into this tank, so we have butt tons of heavy oil. I mean, watch this. You just put that down and boom. As much heavy oil as you could possibly want. Then the water is going to come in here and combine with the heavy oil to split it into light oil. The light oil we're going to need to make to produce, I want to say electrolyte. No. Superconductors. That's what we need the light oil for. That basically takes care of our 3 liquids. The more I think about this, the more I realize this isn't going to work. What I wanted to do was run all these resources through here, keep all the ones we wanted, and then have them go into the production section. And then there'd be an overflow of said resources, and that overflow would then have to be dealt with. But I'm thinking, why let's do a big smattering of resources? Why not just sort everything here? Sort everything at the outputs, and then build from those outputs. Yeah, I'm going to have to redo this, aren't I? We need to split off resources for every single potential resource that exists. Then once we've sorted them, we can process them and handle the overflow, as in if we have too much of something, we can just dump it or turn it into a scrap or whatever. Give me some time. Right, abomination it is. Hey, we're splitting off all 12 different things, so light fuel, gears, batteries, stone, everything, all gets their own chests. Then we got to figure out how to pump those into what's necessary. Like, for example, one of the things we need to make the science pack is accumulators. So we need to build accumulators which require iron plate and batteries. Now, batteries, we just get that straight from the recyclers. So cool, the batteries go in here, get sent up, boom. We now have batteries going into the accumulator system. We're going to find some way to get rid of the spare batteries later, but for now, well, that's sort of the start. Then over here, the gears are going to get shunted out onto this line, and then they're immediately going to get processed by these recyclers. Since it's iron gears, they will get turned into, well, iron plate. Iron plate will stick out this side and get sent over here and fed into the accumulator. So we now have the two basic resources. However, there's going to be way too much iron plate for what we actually need. So what we've done here, this iron plate isn't required for anything else. So it's going to come down to the end here, and assuming there's like 4,000 iron gears in here, this thing will activate and start processing the iron plate into iron chests. It takes 8 iron plate to make the chest, and then once it's manufactured, which should be pretty quick. How fast? Yeah, 0.5 seconds. Oh, yeah, I should probably point out here. What we want to do is destroy it. So now, we could try feeding the iron plates into the recycler, but that'll only destroy, like, 3/4 of an iron plate a tick, which is going to be really slow. And I'm not even sure you can feed... Actually, no, you can feed iron plates in, but I'm thinking it's slow, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, there we go. It's now spit out the iron plates at the end. You should not... Oh, maybe I should disable that. You know what? No. This won't activate, though, unless there's 4,000, whatever... 4,000 iron gears. So this whole thing here should take care of our iron gear problem. Oh, and the reason we have 4 of these machines is, well, 20% of the output of this is going to be... Oh, this is weird. Well, we're going to input 100% scrap, but only 60% of the output, we're only going to fill 60% of a line with output, because the other 40% gives us nothing when you scrap stuff. 20 of that 60%, or 20 percentage points of that 60%, is going to be... the iron gear wheels, which means we need 4 of these to process all of them continuously, is the theory. Yeah, we'll find out, though, as we go along. My brain, my poor brain, this does not feel at all like normal Factorio stuff. There's so much weirdness going on in terms of how you're going to deal with overflow. You know what? I should have done this from the start to deal with, like, splitting it up and then just destroying everything we don't need, or... It's fine? Fine. We're going to at least prime the system a little bit. First thing we want to do, though, is we actually have to produce some of these supercapacitors. If we don't produce the supercapacitors, we can't actually unlock the science packs we want to build. So we just have to craft 1 supercapacitor. Supercapacitors require batteries, no problems. Electronic circuits, no problems. Holmium plate, no problems. Superconductors might be a little bit trickier. Yeah, no, we can get most of this. We just need light oil. Actually, the light oil and the electrolyte will be fine. You know what? What we'll do is we'll dump some resources onto the line here. Namely, give me some of that holmium ore. Give me some ice. And give me some stone. Now, what that should do is start getting water into this system. Yes. Which will mean we can start cracking the light oil. Okay, and over here... Yeah, how do you not have enough holmium ore? Oh, bugger. I messed up on how the holmium ore gets there. Nope, that's fine. We were expecting stuff to get messed up because it always does, because it always does. All right. So, there we go. That should be both of them up and running. Fine. Holmium solution gets created. That should pop over here to this stuff. Yes. However, you also need heavy oil. Why do you not have heavy oil coming in? Oh. Never hooked that up. Now you got heavy oil. Okay, that's Pretty cool. That goes over here. Yes. Yes. How are you looking? Fine. You just need some plastic and some copper plate. That's actually shouldn't be too hard. Now, you do need some copper plate to go with that. You know what? Just stick that in there. Where'd the copper go? You know what? It's fine. You need to go to there. Aha! And the green circuits need to go on as well. You can need some batteries as well. Ooh, you should have a bunch of batteries in storage. We'll just dump batteries into the system. I know we should be plugging in scrap, but I don't want to like mess this thing up just yet. There you go. Ooh, we might need to get up to stack inserter or bulk inserters at some point. It's fine. For now, we just want to get this started. Wait. What? Okay, I messed something up. There should not be all of this junk on the line. Mistakes were made. Okay. How did I mess this up? You were supposed to go there. Fine, okay. In that case, we will take all of this off the line. And we've finally got that little thing we want. We just need to break back up the resources and put them where they were supposed to go. Okay. I think this will kind of turn on. It'll still jam up, but at least it'll give us an idea of what's actually happening. So you start flowing garbage. Yeah, it's basically, it's not scrap recycling. We're on a garbage planet, and we're processing garbage. That's all we're doing. Okay. And away we go. The sorting begins. Okie doke. Now, gears are going over here, getting turned into our plate. Batteries go down here to get turned into accumulators. Both accumulator things are on. Exit. The accumulators come over here and get fed down this edge. That means they pop down to this section and get fed into the science buildings. Which reminds me, I have no outputs for the science buildings yet. We can make that real quick. Done. There we go. Okay, so they're working. Yeah. So the accumulators are combining with the capacitors. Supercapacitors? Yeah, supercapacitors. Supercapacitors are made from batteries, which we're getting from the recycling, electronic components, which we get from scrapping red chips, superconductors, which we're making over here. Oh, God. Yeah, this feels like a Rube Goldberg machine, but not like one of the good ones, more like one of the bad ones that no one wants. Yeah, batteries are looking good, gears are looking fine, all the copper cable is being smashed. All the red circuits are being turned into plastic. Like, it's going to take me a while of running this to figure out where the bottlenecks are and what needs to be scrapped and what doesn't. For example, this... Where is it? Yeah, these... yeah, no, they're actually set to be destroyed as necessary, but let's say... Yes, this fuel. We currently have no outputs for the fuel, the concrete, the steel, low-density structure, the blue chips, or the ice. So all of those can overflow. And a bunch of the other things will also overflow as well. So we need to manage for that. But for now, yeah, we've finally got a little bit of electromagnetic science complete. As well as that, we've got access to a lot of blue and red chips here. So I'm just gonna productivity and speed module the bejesus out of this entire place. Power is effectively free because it falls from the sky. And we might start turning that light fuel into rocket fuel to dump into, I want to say heating towers. Heating towers would allow it to burn it very efficiently, and we could hook that up to steam turbines. Yeah, that might actually be a good idea. Just to boost our... and power's all gone. Right. So, we need about a bajillion more accumulators. So, maybe what we should do is take all of these accumulators and actually turn these machines off. And concentrating on getting way more accumulators up and running. That seems to be just about enough power, hopefully. We'll see if it actually lasts all the way through midnight. We're going to need a lot more of those, I think. At the same time, the first thing to start backing up is actually the solid fuel. How's our gears looking? The gears are looking okay-ish. What are you up to? 4.2k enabled. Output full? Oh. Wait, this can't destroy it when there's stuff to output, right? How about if I get rid of you? I don't know if this is going to be enough, to be honest. Ha! Well, okay, there might be some work that needs to be done on this, I will admit. A few more accumulators there, and we've actually got enough power to run this reasonably. We're going to need a lot more power, though, I've realized. Also, problem with running water-powered steam turbines is we'd have to actually melt ice. So that might actually be of benefit to us because we're starting to overload on ice already. Yeah, how's that looking? Oh, yeah, water tank's actually done. You might give you a couple of speed modules. I dropped down some speed modules from the Event Horizon because I'm just like speed modules and productivity modules. We're going to, well, cram them into everything. And I couldn't be bothered waiting around for the green and red ships to manufacture themselves. We've also massively speed boosted these so we can get some extra accumulators going on. All the excess that are not used by science, straight into this chest, and then we deploy them. We should be able to fill up most of this island. Yeah, this is, Fulgora, my thoughts. Absolutely insanity. I hate it, but at the same time, it's enjoyable, if that makes sense. It really forces you to think about things very, very, very differently. Even like this fuel over here, we're turning all of that light fuel into rocket fuel. Originally, I was going to turn it into power, and now I'm like, wait, but we do that, we'll need steam, and if we need steam, we need to get rid of ice. So we'll probably burn off a bunch of steam and ice, or fuel and ice, just to generate ourselves some more power. And at the same time, that should cut down the amount of accumulators we need. This system is so weird. What we're going to end up doing is speed beaconing all of this, or speed moduling these, so that we can produce more. Or we could just double down and put down a second one. But I'm thinking speed modules should be fine. How many can they hold? 4? Yeah, let me try something here. How you looking? Yeah, it chucks it out at speed. Perfect! But we'll get back to that. For now, it seems like we have enough accumulators and lightning rods going down that we could charge up everything. In fact, I was really overestimating the amount of space you need and underestimating the amount of accumulators you need. You need lots of accumulators. Like, even with just the area we've covered, we can actually support more accumulators. Right now, we're into daytime hours. The lightning has stopped, and you can see these things slowly crawling down. But with the moment night kicks in, these things shoot up. There we go. It's nighttime. These are empty capacitors that are accumulators that just got set here. And you can see, yep, boom, 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 lightning is hitting down, and now we're getting into the deeper parts of the night, and it's just more and more consistent lightning strikes. Look at that charge rate on that. That is kind of ludicrous. And you gotta remember, it's still powering all the machines as well. We're going to be fully charged long before the nighttime is over, and bearing in mind that these were just fresh accumulators, so they had 0 charge in them, and done. So we could put down far more accumulators and still have, like, night still going, lightning still falling. Might be an idea to actually start producing masses of accumulators. I think we're going to need them. What I want to do is speed beacon and productivity module this until the production rates go up to about, I'm looking for about 100 of this science per minute to get it started. We're doing about 27. Actually, give me the last 10 minutes. Yeah, 27. That's not good enough, but according to the math and numbers, as long as we use speed beacons, productivity modules, stuff like that, we should be able to get this mostly up to about 90-ish, and that should be sufficient for our needs. But that is going to have to wait for another episode, because, yeah, no, I need some time to let my brain not die. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed. Good luck.